What's up, guys? Welcome to the Sports 2.0 show. I am your host, Tanner Kern. I'm joined by the one, the only IndyCar analyst at the Sports 2.0 network, Jim Kern, my father. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And IndyCar analyst this week. I got my official IndyCar hat on.
Hey, where'd you get that gear?
Some birdie brought it for me.
That's good. How do you like my
Where'd you get your gear?
Some birdie bought it for me.
Oh, there you go.
So before we get into the show, guys, we're going to be breaking down the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio, but want to remind everyone, subscribe to the Sports 2.0 network. We have a ton of great content: baseball, basketball, football, soccer, hockey, horse racing, and IndyCar. That's amazing. That's a pretty good lineup. What do you think of that?
It's good. You guys are covering it all.
Hey, you're covering it all. You're on the team too.
I know. This is one of the highlights of the 2.0 network.
Having your son work for Noob Solutions of the 2.0 network is being an IndyCar analyst.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you
good
go.
Stuff. It's good work if you can get it.
Yeah. So let's start breaking down the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio. But there's a lot to catch up on in the past couple weeks. The drivers were off last week. Hopefully some teams got it together, got a game plan going, like Team Penske. Josef Newgarden blows up at Road America. He's leading with a couple laps to go. There's a caution. His car loses power. Team Penske does not end up on the podium. This was his race to win. He's led so many laps this year, has not been able to finish late in races. I think that's been the case for the whole Penske team, really. Do you think Josef Newgarden's able to bounce back, or is this season just done for him? Is it?
Yeah, I think this is his race to win. You know, he's a former champion here, won in 2017. So I think he's due. He's had 3 poles in a row. It's the first time that's happened since 2015. I think he's at his 15th pole or 17th pole, but 3 in a row is pretty impressive. And he's had a really strong performance the last 2 weeks. Just didn't finish. Got a podium, obviously, in Detroit, but Road America was disappointing for him. So I think Penske breaks through this week. That's my prediction. With Newgarden.
Not Pagenaud?
No.
Why don't you like Pagenaud? He's in 5th in the point standings.
No, he's consistent, but he's running a consistent season. He's not leading the pack. So I see Newgarden being the man this weekend.
Now let's go into the head of Roger Penske for a minute here. When he looks at the results he's gotten so far, what do you think the first thing that comes to mind is?
Well, they're actually not sitting too bad in shape in the overall championship. You've got, I think, 2 in the top 10. Power's just out of the top 10. So Newgarden and Pagenaud in 4th and 5th. He's actually, the only thing they haven't done real well is win races. I mean, they've been able to finish. They've had some frustrating results, but overall they're sitting there. They're not. It's not as disastrous as Andretti Autosport is right now. So I think they're actually doing pretty well overall. So
now, when you look at Team Penske, though, they have to start winning races based on the points and the numbers, because you got Palou, you got Award, Dixon. They're finishing in the top of races consistently. Newgarden and Pagenaud got to pull off a couple wins to be the champions at the end of the season.
Right. They do. They have to finish strong, and they actually have to have Palou, Award, and Dixon, not finish strong. I mean, I think that's the other key. So if Palou and Dixon stay in the consistently stay in the top 5, they're one of them. It's going to be hard, for them to actually lose a championship. So anyway, I do want to have one shout out on Penske today with Newgarden. It was the 50th anniversary of Penske's first win as a car owner in 1971 with Mark Donohue at the Pocono 500. So it's a little trivia for the young bucks here, but Mark Donohue was a former Indy champion and unfortunately lost his life in a Formula One practice crash. But he was the star driver back in this early 70s for Roger Penske. So 50 years goes by pretty quickly.
You can't shout out any young guns because you don't like the young guns in the sport of IndyCar.
I do like young guns. I like
Colin Herta.
Well, I like Alex Palou. He's my young gun favorite. So, like I said, since in Indianapolis, he's been right up there, and he's definitely consistently in the top 6 in both qualifying and finishing. That's why he's sitting in first place right now with 2 wins on the season. So really impressive.
Now with Palou, he's going to be locked up for years to come, but the silly seat is already starting. You look at Andretti Autosport. Michael Andretti said this week, my roster is likely to change next season. Talk about the silly seat for people that might not know what that is, and break it down for our listeners.
It's really a silly season, not a silly seat. Obviously.
Season. Oh, you said silly seat.
Yeah, it's a silly season. So, but anyway, it's if you're in a seat that's going to be moving, it is the silly seat. So, anyway, normally this starts around this time of year, about halfway through the season. So you've got people are jockeying for positions. Contracts aren't getting renewed that are basically in term this year. Drivers that have multi-year agreements are relatively safe generally. But Andretti has not had a great season. I think only Colton Herta and Alexander Rossi have multi-year deals, so that most likely they'll both be back in an Andretti car next year. But there's risk on Hinchcliffe and Ryan Hunter-Reay not getting full-time rides with Andretti next year. So that's going to open up arguably a premier seat. There's some rumors going around that it's going to be a couple of different people out there, but I think that's going to be the first. And then I also understand, Pagenaud's up for renewal, so he could or could not be back with Penske next year, depending on what's going on. So you're going to start seeing some guys get in position, and hopefully, they'll be able to secure those seats or some other good seats. I mean, the one nice thing about what's going on right now is it's not a 2-horse race. For the past, I'll say for the past 5-6 years, it's been Andretti, Ganassi, or Penske. But now you've got Arrow McLaren, you've got Dale Coyne Racing's doing pretty well, you've got Meyer Shank Racing. You've got Ed Carpenter, you've got Rahal Letterman. You've got a lot of really, really good teams to go to now. So those seats are coveted no matter who you're with at this point.
Yeah, and you look at the Andretti team. I mean, we can talk about Rossi, but Colton Herta has been the one guy who has raced well this season. Rossi had a good qualifying. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But why has Colton Herta been able to be so successful relative to all his teammates?
Well, because he's a good driver.
Better driver.
He's a younger, better driver. He's a fearless driver who's very, very talented, and I think that you're seeing a somebody that actually has the ability to be a long-term player, potentially getting picked off and going into Formula One if he can get a good ride, but. I think Andretti will try to lock him up. I mean, he's 21 years old at this point. So so he's doing extremely well. I think he's probably just a little better than the other guys are doing. A couple of guys who had some bad breaks. Rossi's run relatively strong. Ryan Hunter-Reay has had a disastrous season, and Hinchcliffe has been a not really consistent performer up top. So. Look for that lineup to get shaken up. There's some rumors going around it's going to be potentially Romain Grosjean, depending on whether he stays with Dale Coyne Racing next year, and that would be a premier seat for Romain. And then Oliver Raskew potentially coming back into the circuit full time next year. He's filled in a couple of races this year. His name's being mentioned in potentially one of those seats, and they're also talking about moving somebody up from the Indy Lights program into an Andretti seat, depending on whether they can get the right sponsorship packages and so forth. So those are obviously key. So
we look at Grosjean, the hottest free agent in IndyCar. When do you think he gets on the top of the podium? Is it this year or is it going to be next year?
He almost won the Indy Grand Prix, so I mean he's definitely got the potential to be up there. He's qualified strong. I think I saw a statistic the other day that he's been qualifying in the fourth. He's averaged 4th position in qualifying and 12th to finish races. He's gotten 1 podium. which has been pretty impressive. Finished second. He should have won that race, but I definitely think he's got potential to be a winner before the end of the season. There's no doubt about it. Now he didn't run so strong here in qualifying at Mid America,
Mid Ohio.
Mid Ohio. I'm sorry, but Mid America. I'm thinking of Road America. Anyway, so the Honda Indy 200 at Mid Ohio, but I think you're going to see him. He's been a strong performer. Considering his first year in IndyCar with these type of cars, they're not as technologically advanced as a Formula One car is. They're a little heavier. They're a little harder to drive. He's running on new circuits. He's actually done an outstanding job. I mean, at the very least, he's probably going to be Rookie of the Year. So.
Well, I mean, he's Rookie of the Year, but he's also driven with the best drivers in the world, and he's 30-something years old. So,
yeah, well, when you're the first-year driver, you're still getting considered for Rookie of the Year.
See, you if you're coming from Formula One, you got to win races in IndyCar, I think.
Well,
we talk about Formula One being the best drivers in the world, but these guys come to IndyCar, and Romain Grosjean's not winning anything.
Well, it's early still, Dan. It's still early. Yeah, we got
less
time.
Than half a season to go.
We got time.
All right, so
keep in mind he's not. I will say one other thing about Romain. He was in not great equipment in Formula One, and he's in a mid-pack team, and he's actually done really, really well for that team. So you throw him in an Andretti or a Penske, and potentially he could end up in the Penske stable too, depending on what happens with Pagenaud. So you put him in one of those cars to see how fast he goes.
Okay. I know you like Grosjean. You were mad I got the Herta jersey. You want a Grosjean jersey, but so we look at the IndyCar standings: Palou, Award, Dixon, Newgarden, Pagenaud. I mean, this is anyone's season right now. You also got Herta behind these guys. So like I said, anyone can win. Out of these guys, who do you think has the best day at Mid Ohio?
I think Newgarden. Newgarden is a former winner there. Then I'd say follow closely with Dixon. Dixon's a 6-time winner at this track. He won in 2019. I think you've also got the ability for any of the former winners. I mean, there's 7 former winners in this race: Rossi, Pagenaud, Graham Rahal, a little bit of a dark horse. It's his home track. And then Herta won one of the two. They had a doubleheader last year, so Herta and Power won last year. So, I think out of these guys, it's probably going to be Newgarden or Dixon.
So we got 80 laps, 180.64 total miles, 13 turns. The tough part about this course at Mid Ohio is the corners. You got high-speed corners, flowing corners, and tight corners. Drivers can get to high speeds, and they got to cut it really tight on some of the parts of the track. You have to be on your game. In any race, you have to be on your game throughout the entire race. But this is one course that demands that you are paying attention at all times, and the slightest mistake can cost someone. So do you think the young guns, how many of the young guns crashed this weekend, first of all?
Somebody's going to. Somebody's going to. The other thing is the track's pretty narrow. It's not a real wide course, and it's not like they have a lot of runoffs. It's a very similar kind of course to Road America, that if you're off, you're in the grass and potentially into the walls or the fences. But I think you're going to have somebody be overly aggressive and probably go off course. Whether they can come back in or not, I'm not sure. But I think experience helps here. You can see it just in the qualifying in the Fast Six. So everybody in the Fast Six has run this course before. And with that said, I think you're going to see, potentially a winner out of that top 6. I mean, there was another stat that we saw that 40% of winners at this track over the 37 races that they've done have come from the pole position, which actually puts Newgarden and potentially Herta in the best spot at this point, which is pretty impressive. Starting position. And Herta was just briefly, it was 0.031 seconds behind in the qualifying. So for the Fast Six, so good, a good performance by both guys.
And we know how to pick winners. We were both 2 for 3 in our top 3 last week or 2 weeks ago at Road America. Now I want to talk about Rinus Veekay for a minute here. Rinus has the biking injury, a training. He was on like a 75-mile bike ride to train. Breaks his collarbone, did not race last week, is going to be back in the lineup. How hard do you think it is to drive an IndyCar with a broken collarbone?
I think it's extremely hard. It's one of those things where your body takes a beating, especially, I mean, if this was a oval, not such a big deal. But because it's a road course and a lot of turns, you're moving your arms around a lot. You've got a lot of jolting going on. Rinus is going to be in a little bit of pain. I mean, he's obviously a very good driver. He's had a good season so far. You're driving for Ed Carpenter Racing, but I don't see him being a factor at the finish at this point. So it's just impressive that actually he's back. I mean, he's only really broke his collarbone, 2.5, 3 weeks, or not even 3 weeks ago now. So.
And it's amazing too. You look at where he was in the point standings. He was in the top 5 before last week, and he's dropped. He's still in the hunt, but missing one race is devastating for your overall standings, especially when it's a top probably 8 drivers can really win this thing this year.
Right. I mean, he still can pull a season around. I mean, I think the biggest thing is he needs to finish. It's not being crazy, but being able to actually finish and pick up some points is important for him in his quest. But it's fortunate he didn't lose more than one race at this point.
Too, it's like he didn't lose more than one race, but I have doubts that he's actually ready to race this weekend. Like you talk about breaking a collarbone, people, you don't get back in a car going close to 200 miles an hour this weekend with a broken collarbone. Just 2 weeks ago, you just got surgery.
Yeah. Well, tough guy, I guess we'll see, right? And he's strapped in there pretty good, but that's how important it is to get these races in for the championship run. So but he also I think he actually crashed in Indy practice and broke something too. So he's used to this. So I think it was him.
They're tough guys. It's hard driving an IndyCar, isn't it?
I don't know. Never been in one.
It's got to be hard driving one.
I would imagine so.
You sat in one at the IndyCar Museum.
Yeah, well, that sitting in a car versus driving at 225 miles an hour around the track's a big difference, especially when you're a relatively big dude. Yeah. So, I mean, the average height of these drivers is probably 5'8". You got a couple guys that are around 6, and I think Graham Rahal's 6'2", but that's an anomaly. So.
Yeah. So we look at the Fast Six: Newgarden, Herta, Ericsson, Power, Dixon, Rossi. You said Rossi has run strong. This is a rarity, though, that he's this high up right now. The one driver here that really seems like a little bit of a pretender is Marcus Ericsson. I know he's got one win under his belt this year, but he won because of a lot of drivers making mistakes. It wasn't because he raced flawlessly. Do you think Marcus Ericsson has a good day this weekend?
I think he's got a good shot. I mean, he's in good equipment. I mean, you've got two Andretti, 2 Penske, and 2 Herta. I'm sorry, two Herta, 2 Ganassi in the top 6. So Ericsson is able to win races. He's obviously qualified fast. But what you don't see there is number 7, which is Alex Palou, and he just barely missed the Fast 6. So he's right outside of that. So. And then, now you've got Ganassi with Ericsson, Dixon, and Palou in 3 of the top 7 cars. So they've done something right for the weekend because they're running really strong. And, he's a good driver. I mean, you don't win races in IndyCar just being lucky. So you got to be, you've got to be able to be near the front or in front, even when breaks happen. To be able to actually win races. So that was a breakthrough event for him in Detroit. But I still think you're going to see the winner out of Newgarden, Dixon, potentially Herta. But I still like Palou.
You don't like Herta.
Well, hey, to finish first, you got to finish, right?
Well, he does finish. I mean, he raced great last week. Yeah, now, one more question for you out of this Fast Six. We're talking about IndyCar being a 4-team. There's 4 powerful teams now. We said Andretti, Ganassi, Penske, but Arrow McLaren's starting to become a factor in IndyCar. They don't have a driver in the top 6. Do you think are they actually a legit number 4 team right now?
I do think they are. I mean, Pagenaud Award is a very good driver. I think he's sitting in 2nd place in the standings. As we sit here, he was one of the faster. He was one of the faster practice cars over the weekend. He just didn't, unfortunately, qualify well. I think he's pretty far back to start, but I think he's got the ability, especially with the championship at stake, for him to move up. But he's been kind of hot and cold. He's run some races extremely well. He's won a couple races, and he's had some other finishes which have been a little bit lackluster. But knowing where he's starting from, he's probably going to have a tough day, depending on what they do for pit stop strategy and accidents and yellow flags and so forth. So
now you're very high on Palou jumping into the top 3. Do you think that's actually going to happen from 7? This is a tough course to pass at.
I do. The way I look at it is that is the championship leader. He's got everything to lose, so he's going to run strong. So you'll see him in the top 3. I still like Newgarden for the win. I think Penske breaks through this weekend. Newgarden finally pulls it all together and goes through. And then you can't count Dixon out, especially at this track. I mean, you don't win a race 6 times without being strong here. And he's in pretty good starting position. So those are my picks. And I do like Graham Rahal as a dark horse. So he's sitting I think in 8th or 9th position to start. So he's not in too bad a shape. Former winner plus his home track.
He's going to need something to happen in front of him though.
Yeah. It usually does.
Usually does. That's right. Yeah, stay out of trouble. So I got Newgarden, Herta, Dixon. I love Colton Herta. I'm wearing his jersey. That means he's going to win this weekend. If I had to pick one of these drivers to win, I am going to say Newgarden. I think Team Penske is due. But again, last week or 2 weeks ago, we thought he was due. He was in there. He had the lead. His car blows up, finishes in 24th, I think it was.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was 24th, 25th. So it's just not a good week for Newgarden. You could tell. They didn't even interview him. He was so angry. And he's had the car to win multiple times, just has not been able to do it. So I think this is the week he does it. I wrote an article on Noob Sports talking about why he is going to win the point series this year, why he is going to finish probably top of the podium a few times in the last 6, 7, 8 races. So very excited about that. Any final thoughts before we watch Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio this weekend?
Yeah, just tune in to Noob Sports 2.0 network and enjoy the race on Sunday. So should be fun. Yeah.
And then the drivers are going to be off for a month before Nashville. New race. That's going to be an awesome race. We're going to be covering that on here, but we will also have some shows in the meantime talking about point standings, drivers, and some specialty topics with the lead IndyCar analyst here at the Sports 2.0 network, Jim Kern.
There you go. Thank you.
So that does it, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the Sports 2.0 network on YouTube. We're at 440 subscribers, I think, so we're really doing well there. Keep it up, guys. We really appreciate it. That does it for our Honda Indy 200 preview. Hope everyone enjoys the race, and we will talk to you soon for another show.